Imagine this. A tiny, hidden assembly error on one of the world's most popular aircraft could actually prevent the landing gear from extending. Today, we're going to dig in and decode a critical EASA safety directive for the Airbus A320 family and really figure out what it means for every single operator out there.
So what if the landing gear just couldn't extend? I mean, that's the nightmare scenario, right? It's the one question that no one in aviation ever wants to have to answer. But it is exactly this possibility that sits at the very heart of the directive we're examining today. And that makes this an absolutely crucial topic for anyone involved in A320 operations and maintenance.
All right, so let's get right into it. What is the fundamental problem here? We're going to peel back the layers on the specific safety issue that prompted EASA to sit up and issue a fleet-wide alert for one of the most popular aircraft flying in our skies today. Okay, so the whole thing really boils down to this one component, the main landing gear door actuator, or MLG door actuator for short. Its job sounds pretty simple, right? It just opens the doors so the gear can come down and then closes them up again once it's retracted. But it is absolutely critical. If that doesn't work perfectly, the whole sequence just stops.
And here's the kicker. The root cause isn't some big fundamental design flaw in the A320. Nope, it's an assembly error. A hidden manufacturing mistake discovered during maintenance checks that could cause these doors to jam solid and prevent the gear from extending in a real-world scenario.
So what happens if this part fails? Well, the consequences are pretty much what you'd imagine, and yeah, they're severe. A jammed door means the gear is stuck, plain and simple. This doesn't just risk a safe landing and major aircraft damage. For an airline, it triggers a total cascade of operational disruptions that can impact their entire network for days.
So, in response to this risk, EASA stepped in and issued a formal airworthiness directive. Let's take a look at the official mandate they've put in place to get this issue inspected and resolved across the entire fleet. All right, here are the key details you need to know. We're talking about Airworthiness Directive 2025-0158R1, and it's aimed squarely at those MLG door actuators. The revision we're covering became effective on September 19, 2025. And it all links back to a specific Airbus Alert Operator Transmission, or AOT. Now, this brings us to the million-dollar question on every operator's mind. Is my fleet affected? So this next section is all about identifying which specific aircraft fall under the microscope for this directive.
And let me tell you, the scope here is huge. It covers the entire A318, 319, 320, and 321 families, and that includes the newer A321neo variants. But here's the key detail. It applies to all manufacturer serial numbers, or MSNs, so no aircraft gets a free pass based on its age or model.
To manage all this, the directive splits the entire fleet into two categories. You have Group 1, which includes any aircraft that has a confirmed affected part installed. And then you have Group 2, which is for aircraft confirmed to be clear of these parts. Which group your aircraft falls into, well, that's what determines your required actions.
So how do you know if you actually have an affected part? You're looking for part number 141221015 with serial numbers that are found in lists A and B of that Airbus AOT. However, and this is a big however, there is a critical exclusion. If the part is permanently marked with PINSP, it's been inspected, and it is not considered affected. You're good to go.
Okay, understanding the technical side is one thing, but what does this actually mean for your day-to-day operations? Let's break down the real-world impacts for engineering, planning, and even the commercial teams. For your engineering team, this workflow is basically the critical path. It starts with identifying your aircraft's group. If you're in Group 1, you immediately get put into a cycle of repetitive inspections. And if you find any issue, that part must be replaced before the next flight. The only way to get off this treadmill is to schedule and complete a permanent replacement. Once that's done, the directive is terminated. And you can see just how demanding this inspection schedule is. For Group 1 aircraft with certain parts, you're looking at checks every 8 days or every 5 flight cycles. That is a huge planning challenge that can easily throw a wrench in tight flight schedules.
You know, the ripple effects here go far beyond the hangar. Every hour of increased downtime creates scheduling disruptions. That forces the commercial teams to budget for parts and labor, while procurement has to scramble to find replacement parts. And for leased aircraft, oh boy, it means a deep dive into those agreements to figure out who is ultimately on the hook for the cost of compliance.
Finally, let's get to the most critical piece of information, the timeline. These are the hard deadlines you need to be building into your maintenance program right now. As you can see from this timeline, the clocks are already ticking. The windows for replacing parts from List A and List B began in late 2024 and mid-2025. And crucially, as of August 2025, it is prohibited to install any affected part onto any aircraft, even as a temporary spare. The pressure is on.
If there's just one number you remember from all of this, let it be this one: 8. 8 days. For aircraft in Group 1, this frequent inspection interval becomes the new operational reality until a permanent replacement is made. It just highlights the urgency of moving those aircraft out of Group 1.
And in the end, it all comes down to this. This single sentence from the directive makes the stakes crystal clear. This is not about paperwork or ticking boxes. It's a direct action to prevent a catastrophic failure and ensure every single landing is a safe one.
So, we'll end with this question for you and your team. With a really demanding inspection schedule and firm replacement deadlines closing in, is your maintenance program fully prepared to ensure your A320 fleet remains compliant and, most importantly, safe?